We are live. We are live. Good morning. PATC breakfast. Welcome. Welcome into the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kirk Gowdy Avenue. Welcome in. This is College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. We got our Cloak and Dagger mug. We got some Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. The difference is in the mug. Delicious. And we got some breaking news. We were set up for it. Things are still very unsettled. We love to get to a new story. There's going to be lots of stories in college football. The game we love in and around April, spring football games. I was even going to do a Missouri spring football game here on the 18th, but it was canceled due to bad weather. I think they only had 4 offensive linemen, whatever. We're going to be doing spring football games. We're going to be doing watch parties. That's how crazy we are at Peek Around the Corner. If you are as crazy as I am about the game we love, please subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. Share the video with your family and friends. Yes, we don't come on in the mornings. Well, but I warned you. I warned all of you in the PATC community. You have to keep your head on a swivel. You never know what's going to happen next. You never know when that bit of nugget of information is going to drop. We knew this was going to drop this morning. If you go on my Twitter account, well, it's thanks for coming in, Curtis Brown, Kenneth Bowman, TB Bearcat, Opie. Yes, Opie, it's a cloak and dagger breakfast plate. I know for a lot of you, it's not a convenient time and you can't jump on in. You can catch the show later today and watch it. But we had a sort of running start for this information. So we're going with it. We're going to give you the best information possible, hopefully in an entertaining manner. No, we do not know how this is all going to play out. We never said we did. No, we're not part of some stupid plot that people are, I don't know, people have lost their minds. Some people have completely lost their minds. You know how this works. I'm going to do a monologue. Then we'll get to your comments and your phone calls. We're going to be breaking down Andrew Marchand's article in the New York Post this morning. If you don't have it, that's okay. We got the bullet points put down on the PATC Chalk Talk, a virtual chalkboard that shows up to the right side of my head. We're going to be going through the bullet points of the New York Post article, Andrew Marchand, Pac-12. If they're going to get a deal done with ESPN, well, they are not close to getting a deal done as of right now. It is still very uneasy inside the Pac-12. It doesn't mean they can't get a deal done. It doesn't mean that it's over. It does mean that there is still work to be done, and the situation is sitting on the knife's edge in the Pac-12. This story is way more complicated than just saying, well, some schools have already signed with the Big 12. Some of those Pac-12 schools already signed with the Big 12. And it's way more complicated than, there's no way could any school go from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. There's no chance, and if you say it, you're just lying and your sources aren't real and da-da-da. The story is way more nuanced, way more complicated, way more developed, and you all deserve the best information possible. So we're not going to play the game of extremes here, peek around the corner. We're going to give you the way it is. No, we do not know what the end result is going to be in this story. On February 5th at Peek Around the Corner, we said everybody needs to calm the bleep down. That was the name of our live show. On February 19th, we said now it's time to panic. On February 24th, we finally turned the odds here at Peek Around the Corner in our imaginary PATC sportsbook and said, now is the time where it's a slight favorite that the Pac-12 will probably get poached again in this time. A slight favorite that's going to happen. But here at Peek Around the Corner, we do not know the end result of this. And neither does anybody else. And in the PATC community, we have differing opinions. We feel the spectrum here at Peek Around the Corner. And that is okay. So when you give your comments in the comment section, or you give us a call once we open up the phone lines here at PATC Breakfast. Once we open up the phone lines, you can call and say whatever you want to talk about in college football, including this saga, what's going on. And you can have a different opinion of myself. And that is okay. We don't exclude people because they have a difference of opinion. Okay? Before we go on, before we hit the breaking news of Andrew Marchand's information this morning at the New York Post, we are so lucky is the word here, Peek Around the Corner, to have our sponsor. Welcome to Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. We invite you to discover the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. Clean Hot Air roasted coffee produces a smoother, richer, healthier coffee that is less bitter and less acidic. Our hot air roasted coffee uses convection heat to loft the beans for a very even heat transfer. The clean, bright taste that people rave about is achieved by roasting the bean quickly and evenly while suspended on a bed of hot air. From craft to cup, hand-picked coffee beans, the smoothest coffee the little general and I have ever had here, peek around the corner in our whole lives. So go to the link in the description box below the video. You will see, you'll go to the website, order some best coffee in the world. And if you want to support our channel, please put down PATC in the comments section in this website. Thank you so very much. Give Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters, give them a try. You'll be hooked right here. Now, this cup here, right? You see this cup? Cloak and Dagger, that beautiful face that's on there. The fat guy, the fat white guy with the big glasses. You can get this cup and other stuff at our merchandise store. That's also in the link in the description box below the video. Let's get to the breaking story. Let's not waste any more time. First of all, just give me a moment. Make sure I got this baby working. Okay. And it's working. Just give me another second here. Peek around the corner. PATC Chalk Talk. Andrew Marchand, New York Post. Breaking news, breaking article of this morning. Bullet points for the Pac-12 to get to 300 million per year. The most likely platform to pay is Apple. Now, we are not saying this is happening, but Apple could potentially reach those numbers of 300 million, which would be 30 million per school per year. Now, of course, we're here at Peek Around the Corner. Money is one thing, exposure is another thing. Going on Apple TV would be extremely risky. We did hear President Robbins. We're going to be talking about President Robbins of University of Arizona. We're going to be discussing what he said in those interviews the last few days, because it's all coming to light here in this Andrew Marchand's breaking news. So Andrew Marchand is saying for the Pac-12 to get to 300 million, the likely platform is Apple. But we're not even saying this is happening, but Apple could potentially reach those numbers. Apple adding Pac-12 content does fit in what they are trying to do with sport content, but it figures to be an all-Apple deal. If that happens, if the Pac-12 wants to reach 300 million, 30 million per school, it would have to be an all-Apple deal. And remember, in bullet point 4, this is Andrew Marchand saying this morning in the New York Post, Apple goes on Apple Watch time. Apple doesn't jump for anyone. And then Andrew Marchand goes, in his article, he talks about how they did not jump for the NFL. They didn't jump for MLS. They finally got a deal done with MLS. But they don't jump for anybody. And if you're going to do a deal with Apple, it figures to be an all-Apple deal. Number 5. If Pac-12 wants answers by April 15th, maybe it gets them from Apple, but it's not a sure thing. Andrew Marchand goes on to say Apple is one of the most powerful and richest companies, and they know it. They're not going to push the schedule for the Pac-12. Now, we've had conflicting information here at Peek Around the Corner. We did say about 10 days ago that Apple TV was out at this moment, and they could come back in. Did they come back in? Or did we get it wrong at Peek Around the Corner? We are open to getting something wrong and telling you that we got something wrong. But Apple TV wasn't going to fit the timeline of what the Pac-12 needed. But maybe they have to come in, maybe they came back in, or maybe at Peek Around the Corner, we got it wrong. We'll find out. But Apple TV, to do a full deal with Apple TV, and plus, if you remember, that doesn't match what Robbins, the University of Arizona president, he basically said it has to be 50% linear, this Pac-12 media deal. And if Apple TV is going to come in and take the whole thing, which Andrew Marchand is even saying he doesn't know if that's happening yet, well, there's problems. There's a whole bunch of problems. Maybe there's a solution, but there are serious issues in the Pac-12 negotiations. Number 7, the Pac-12 could turn back to ESPN and ABC, but the $31 million per year per school is no longer on the table. Pac-12 would need to take less money for more exposure. Pac-12 could go back to ESPN. But you see, they missed that deal they could have gotten months ago. Number 8, at this point, a deal with ESPN is not close. As of March 20th, the morning of March 20th, according to Andrew Marchand at Sports Business Journal, at this point, a deal with ESPN is not close. So whatever comprehensive deal that the Pac-12 presidents are supposed to have in front of them for this week, for tomorrow, it may not even include ESPN. And if it does, those numbers don't mean squat, according to Andrew Marchand. And if you want to debate Andrew Marchand and his information, go ahead. but you know, I mean, go ahead. I'm not going to get stuck in the mud today. We're just going to go with the story as it is, like we always have. Pac-12 could, there's more bullet points here, but I just want to go over this a second. Pac-12 could turn back to ESPN and ABC, but the $31 million per year per school is no longer on the table. It was there. And when Brett Yormark struck the deal on October 30th, in episode 83 at Peek Around the Corner, we said, wow, the Big 12 just struck a deal, and now the Pac-12 is going to be scrambling for exposure. They should not have waited. A whole bunch of other people said something different on that day. And ever since that day, they've been doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, saying everything is fine in the Pac-12, just because they got one little part of the story wrong. And now they got the whole story wrong. There is uneasiness within the Pac-12 because they can't get the deal that they could have gotten months ago. They still might get a deal, but it's going to be high risk or low money with good exposure with ESPN. But they're not going to get both. They're not going to get the deal the Big 12 got. And no, that may not be enough to implode the Pac-12. All those Pac-12 schools want to stay together. They want to stay with their peers. They want to stay with schools that have the commonality. They have ties that bind each other. But one or more of those schools may feel they're going to be forced to move. That's the story. And we don't know what the end result here is. Peek around the corner. But we do know. We have been, you know what? to be honest with you all, we've been flooded with, there is so much out there about the uneasiness in the Pac-12, and it is not made up. I mean, there's more than what we could possibly even put on the show that we're not able to put on this show. So, this is the story. This is what's going on. Can the Pac-12 scramble to get a deal done so those schools that want to stay together can stay together? That's the story. Pac-12, they waited too long. They could have gotten the deal. They misjudged their value in the market. They went to the open market for open bidders, and the media market is in a recession. And we told you that months ago at Peek Around the Corner. That's the story. Number 9. Excuse me. Losing my voice at PATC breakfast early on here. Amazon is still an option, but they don't want tonnage. Friday night game is possible, but Amazon ain't going crazy for over the Pac-12. So they just want a game. And they're not going to spend much for that game. ESPN is not offering much for the content that they want. They would have for the Pac-12. No one's offering much money, except for possibly Apple. Maybe Apple. Number 10. Apple is trying to figure out what they are doing in the sports on Apple TV. No proof college sports exclusively on streaming will work. Apple doesn't have the proof. Pac-12 don't have the proof. The Pac-12 University presidents don't have the proof. Robbins doesn't have the proof. Crow doesn't have the proof. It may work. It may work. This high-risk adventure, if it happens, if Apple TV and Pac-12, if Apple TV gets all of Pac-12 content and farms it out, you know, it didn't work when ESPN gave, when they had to give farmed out ACC content to Raycom. That was a big mess. I got to think this is going to be a big mess if Apple TV is sublicensing content so people can magically think it may reach 50% linear. I don't know. But there is a risk, a massive risk involved here if they go all Apple TV. And again, Andrew Marchand doesn't even know if that is going on right now. We've heard conflicting information here at Peek Around the Corner. Maybe the door is open for Apple TV to come back in again. Maybe that's happened. Or maybe we got the story wrong at Peek Around the Corner. I'm just telling you, nobody knows how this deal is going to look like, because the deals are still so far apart with all of these media companies. No, the Pac-12 does not have a media deal signed and done. There's also been other reports out there. No, that's not what's going on. And finally, number 11, Andrew Marchand. If not Apple, then who? Number 12, wild cards are not apparent right now. And number 12, Andrew Marchand says, Robbins says he has to see the numbers to compare versus Big 12 numbers. That is the money quote. Now here at Peek Around the Corner, we use the term the money shot in the article. Andrew Marchand says in the Robbins recent interview with The Athletic, now this was posted in the New York Post this morning, Andrew Marchand, this is what we're talking about here at PATC Breakfast live show. In Andrew Marchand's article, he believed that the money quote that Robbins told everybody says he needs to see the numbers to compare with the Big 12 numbers. Well, Robbins isn't going to see those numbers. Not today. Not tomorrow, unless there's an absolute miracle. Okay. I'm going to get to your comments. I will post those bullet points again later on for those who missed it. New people are coming in. We're on very early this morning. We knew we would be. Medea Flugar, I'm having my second coffee. She's having her second coffee. She's at work. She has her Blue Ridge coffee with her. She's using her mug. So get your mug at our store, merch store. Okay, let's get to your comments. Forward thinking, thank you, sir, for coming in. Randy Taylor's got his beverage. Buckshot Kid, MLS is struggling with Apple. I do hear that the visual is very, very good on Apple TV for MLS. The picture is beautiful. So maybe it will work. Maybe it will work. Immaculate. Brian is in the house. Thank you. If streaming was good, the Big Ten could be on either NBC's or CBS streaming platform with Peacock and Paramount. They are on with Peacock. They're going to have 8 football games on Peacock. Big Ten is putting their toe in the water when it comes to streaming. No question about it. Sean says there's no way Oregon and Washington signs a deal that puts all of their content on a streaming platform. Biscuit and gravy, more coffee, please. David, Apple may be powerful, but they can't force people to watch in their program. Linda Olson, where have you been? Well, let's just say we at Peek Around the Corner been keeping our powder dry for this morning. Let's just put it that way. We have a lot of people here for a morning show. Wow. Yeah, we've been buying our time here at Peek Around the Corner. We expected some news to come today, and here we are. Craig Kirsch says there's zero chance that the 10 PAC schools accept an all Apple deal. That is a non-starter. Don't know. You know, when Andrew Marchand says ESPN and PAC-12 are not close, that means that now this is me speculating. But that means that that the money's not close. I mean, we're not talking a difference of $1 million or $2 million in ESPN's portion of the deal. They're not close. And plus, ESPN doesn't want a whole lot of it. They'll take a little bit of it. And because they're taking a little bit of it, they're not going to spend a whole bunch on it. That's the problem. The media market, they are in a recession. Don't know. People are waking up to that. People are waking up to that here. We told you months ago that it's this story is about the deal. Can they get a reasonable deal? Is the media package going to be so different than the Big 12, the ACC? Is it going to be so off the beaten path that it's such a high-risk move that one school is finally going to say, that's it, we've given you enough time, we can't do this, we can't put all of our content on Apple TV, and then having a deal with Apple TV where they could sell it to CW or Scripps or, who knows? It's too high a risk for these Pac-12 presidents to agree. So they need something. We talked about this we've talked about this on John Canzano put out an article saying that he thought the deal was moving forward, $32 to $33 million per school. He just put out this late last week. I think it was Friday or Thursday. I don't remember. And he says something like $32 million per school, ESPN Tier 1, Amazon and Apple blending of, they're going to blend the coverage for Tier 2 and what would be traditionally on the Pac-12 network. I put out a couple tweets saying, if it's true, that's how I led my tweet. If it's true, this would be good news for the Pac-12. This would be better than what I would have expected the alternative, the options to be. If it's true that ESPN can be the Tier 1 and Amazon and Apple would blend their coverage, I'm not saying it's not as good as the Big 12 deal. It just won't be. But forget about that argument for a moment. That's better than what I expected. Well, Andrew Marchand's report this morning just throws a whole bunch of cold water on that. Now, Canzano may be right, may be wrong. I do not think he's lying. I do not think he's part of some plot, Pac-12. And if he is, it doesn't matter because these words don't matter because the story is what is the deal. What's going on in the deal? None of these words that are being spoken on Twitter they're not affecting the deal. It's economics is what these networks are willing to do to get Pac-12 content. I heard a wild, and I'm not going to get in the mud today, but I heard a wild accusations saying this, that now the Big 12 universities are paying people to put stuff on Twitter. That they paying this M. McViver 3 guy. No one's listening to McViver 3. No president, no one's making any decisions based upon what's being tweeted out on Twitter. Again, that's not the story. No one is paying a plug nickel to McViver 3 or who are the rest of these people on Twitter to put out stories, anti-Pac-12 stories. That's not the story. No one is doing that. The story is the Pac-12 is having a hard time getting a deal done with potential media companies that would satisfy the 10 schools to sign the contract, to sign the grant of rights, to keep the conference together. That's been a struggle, and it's been a real struggle since October 30th. That's the story. Adam Vulture, if a deal finally gets presented in Washington, Oregon will want a bigger piece of the pie. That dog won't hunt to the rest of the Pac-12. Yeah, we haven't even got Adam, we haven't even gotten to that. They don't even have a deal. They don't know what the money is, so they can't even get into the talks of possible unequal revenue sharing. That the Oregon and Washington might hold over those other schools. One other thing here at Peek Around the Corner is we think it's essential, like important, like it has to get done from our perspective. You can disagree with us in the chat room and you can give me a phone call and say, Greg, you're wrong. No problem. But we think it's essential that the Pac-12 gets ESPN for their Tier 1 or at least half of their Tier 1 content. They need to have their biggest games on ESPN versus Apple versus Amazon. They have to accept the less money right now. Do it. Do it. Do it. You can't. That's why, and I'm not the only one who believes this, by the way. That's why when Andrew Marchand says that ESPN and the Pac-12 are not close to a deal, and we're sitting here March 20th, 8:37 in the morning Central Time. It is a huge news. It's massive. Think of it this way. If you're Robbins, if you're President Robbins of University of Arizona, you want to see numbers. You want to compare them to the Big 12. Remember, Robbins, he's okay with waiting. He's okay with waiting. I don't think deals are going to get better the longer you wait, but he says he's okay. Let other possible media companies come on in. He's okay with waiting. But he also said he was the lone voice, that everybody else wants to see numbers. Today, this week, they wanted to see it 2 weeks ago. And we told you, we reported it right away. Right away. It was 2 weeks ago. That Tuesday, that Wednesday, that Thursday, we said they don't have anything, they don't have anything, they don't have anything. They're upset, they're upset. Arizona State was upset in January 31st. All the way back then, there was panic. I shouldn't use the word panic at that point. There was displeasure. That was the word. Displeasure. And now we're at March 20th. Well, that's like 6 weeks later, 7 weeks later. So now you're Colorado. You're sitting there and you still don't have numbers in front of you. You don't know where your content's going to be. And ESPN and Pac-12 are not close to a deal. You just hired Deion Sanders. Your money perch people had to put up extra money just to get him signed. You're the University of Washington. You know how much interest the Big Ten has in you. Right now, they can't seem to swing you in, but you know that they're interested. You know. Big Ten knows that you know Big Ten, you know, whatever, back and forth. You've got bills to pay. You have budgeted your athletic department budgets years out from now, expecting a bump in pay, because you've always received bump in pays. Conference payouts have always increased, and now suddenly you're looking at what? Patrick Bohr, nice to see you in the house again. What does Andrew actually know? I mean, has he received a leaked copy of the offer that the PAC is to meet about Tuesday? I'm not going to speak on Andrew Marchand's behalf, but I will tell you, their most trusted sources are telling them this information. And I don't know. I mean, I suppose people can go and make more fools of themselves and attack Andrew Marchand. I guess they can do that. If they want to do that, that's their problem. That's not ours here at Peek Around the Corner. Kaufman, I don't think Colorado is willing to wait too long. When Robbins, University of Arizona president, said that we're willing to wait, but we're the only ones out there, that means a lot. Presidents want to see the numbers now. They want a comprehensive deal in front of them now. They wanted it 2 weeks ago. Listen to Ray Anderson in public, what he said. That's been when was that? Middle of February? End of February? We're in March 20th. March 20th. Ray Anderson says we'd like to see something in the middle of March. And ESPN and the Pac-12 are not close. Larry, he agrees with Patrick. Sources with ESPN would be his only source, and it's hard to see them letting that out. Where do you think, again, Andrew Marchand doesn't need me speaking for him. In fact, I was told to make sure that I stayed out of the mud today. So I'm going to be clean. I'm not going to stay out of the mud. But my goodness, of course, Andrew Marchand gets information from media companies. That's the business that he is in. Of course, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I suppose you want to question Andrew Marchand, go ahead. I don't know I'm not sure who you are willing to believe then. If you're not willing to believe Andrew Marchand. Who is this person that knows everything? No, of course, people, yeah. Andrew, I'm just going to leave it at that. Andrew Marchand, Sports Business Journal, they're getting the best information about media packages throughout all of sports. This isn't just college football is just a slice of what they do. They're talking to ESPN all the time. All the time. All the time for years. Thank you, honey. The little general's got to go. The little general, the moderator. Yeah, good plan, no mud. If you don't know, AM gets good information. There's not much we can do for you then. I mean, there's not much we can do. To Master. Again, not going to get in the mud. We don't know what the end result of this saga is going to be. We don't. Of course we don't. University President probably doesn't. Of course he doesn't even know. But this story that's been very fascinating, to be honest with you, is more nuanced. It's not a simple. It's not a simple black and white that some people on Twitter want this story to be. Like, definitely this, definitely that. And if you're not saying definitely this, you're lying. If you're not saying definitely that, you're lying. You're part of some pack or whatever. That it's just nonsense. I mean, I got someone forwarded me information last night. I put out a GIF of well, just go through my Twitter account. You'll see what I'm saying. Last night or 1 o'clock in the morning, whenever I was up, midnight, I got information that the smiley face guy on Twitter, he's making this big attempt to say, now he said in a tweet that there was no credible major media company that ever leaked the USC was going to the Big Ten, that they were talking to no media company leaked that information. Nobody knew it, especially a fat guy from Minnesota. Well, first of all, USC 247 did talk about it. They had podcasts about it. Brian Abraham talked about it for months. Minnesota 247, I wrote a big post on it about April 2nd, April 3rd. And guess who was in that post? It was Genetics 56. He's Wisconsin Sucks on 247. That's his handle. Wisconsin Sucks. That's his handle on 247. And he went in there. And he even said, wow, Greg must have something here. He keeps talking about it. We gave information to USC 247 for months. Minnesota 247 for months. And the smiley face guy on Twitter, GenX56, he knew about it for months that we had this information. And then he decided for whatever reason to attack me for months and say it was all wrong, that I was lying. He used foul language on Twitter about me. Then at the same exact time, and you can check on this, him as Wisconsin Sucks, that's his handle 247, he went on the West Virginia Big 12 thread and titled a thread saying, watch for USC to the Big 10. So at the same time, he was ripping at me for information we had that we were given USC 247, Minnesota 247. He made that story his own on the West Virginia Mountaineer site. Then on June 30th, when the story broke that USC and UCLA were going to the Big Ten, he had on his pinned tweet, Greg Pflugart's lying. USC has never talked, they've only talked to Big Ten in 2021. They're not coming to Big Ten. When people were pounding on him, saying, look at your pinned tweet and look at the breaking news, Genetics 56 said, oh, well, USC coming to the Big Ten, that's not Big Ten expansion. That's part of the Super League that's forming. This is the guy now for the last months is saying that everybody is lying about the Pac-12 schools talking to the Big 12. I mean, it's just history repeating itself. There are a group of people that just get on these huge tangents who don't recognize what they said just 2 months ago. And they flame everybody. They're accusing everybody of all these horrible things while they're sitting there, not putting their real name out there, by the way. And they're accusing everybody of lying, being a part of a plot, going after a person who works at Endeavor, and she should sue him. Genetics 56 being a patsy for another guy who I don't understand what happened to him. But my point is, when you're reading this stuff, these stories are so much more nuanced, more layered than what is being said on Twitter. That's why we finally had to open up Peek Around the Corner. We had to open up this channel so we could do deep dives, so we could talk with you all and you could talk with me and not get in these games of just trying to torch each other, accuse each other of all this stuff. Monovision. It's called a narcissistic personality disorder, Greg. Yes, it is. There's something going on there. I don't know. Thank goodness my narcissistic personality disorder, Monovision, is balanced by my inferiority complex. I have those two things battling each and every day. Thank you, Robert Perez, for coming in. Greg, my experience with you have proven to me that you are an excellent example of a gentleman. Thank you so much. Again, okay, Larry. Larry says Bucknuts were the first to hear that Big Ten additional teams. Yeah, they also said Toronto was coming into the Big Ten, Larry. Don't know what to say to you, buddy. Patrick Bourne. It is quite possible that Commissioner Kliakoff was giving just the upside to Kazano, Arizona president. It could be. It could be. And maybe there's a wild card that Marchand doesn't know. Right? Maybe he doesn't know. Not everybody's going to know everything. But when Marchand says that ESPN and the Pac-12 are not close, that means something. And you know what? He's probably got that right. Cameron B. Marchand called the Big 12 number before it was official. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what happened to the other guy, too. I don't get his obsession with the Pac as a Trojan. I don't get it either. And I don't get and why you would ever associate yourself with the smiley face guy. I just, people who are doing that are just destroying their reputation. Just destroying it. And the guy you're talking about, Grateful Trojan, knows about the smiley face guy because I told him all about him. You know what I like, Grateful Trojan? I like when you and I disagree with each other on Twitter. Right? When we talked about the unequal revenue share. I like when people disagree with me at Peek Around the Corner. I mean, if people are not disagreeing with me, what are we even doing here? What are we? If look, Gophers, I'm a Gopher guy, right? You guys all know I'm a Gopher guy. I think they're going 5-7 this year. 5-7, and every single Gopher fan disagree with me and they're upset with me. Every single one of them are upset with me. That's okay. That's interesting. And I think we're going 5-7, and I'm not just throwing that out there to be. I really think we're taking 2 steps back, and it scares the bejeebers out of me. We're going to disagree. No, I'm not some part of some organization that's wants to say negative things about my Golden Gophers. And no, I'm not anti-Pac-12. I'm not anti-Big 12. I'm not anti-anything. Except for people who hide behind some sort of handle, don't give out the real names, and just constantly go after people without remembering what they themselves were incredibly wrong about for all these years. You know what we're going to do? We're going to open up the phone lines. I've talked way too long. My apologies. Opening up the phone lines. Andrew Marchand. Pac-12 in ESPN is not close to a deal. That is serious. Everything else about that article is important. Maybe Apple TV comes on in. Maybe. Now remember, Andrew Marchand says he doesn't have that. If he doesn't know if that's happening. And he speculates, if it does, it's going to take a while for that to happen. Do the Pac-12 presidents have that much patience? Does Colorado have that much patience? Does Arizona? Would they have faith in an all-streaming deal? Or Apple sub-licenses out and gets some of that on linear, somewhere on your cable network, your Dish Network, your Hulu, somewhere. CW. Okay, enough of me talking. We need to listen to you all because the PATC community is what makes this show work. The phone line is 763-260-1333. The lines are open. Let's rock and roll. Let's go. Cloak and Dagger. Get your cups. I got so much caffeine running through me. I'm about to... Larry Pilgrim. I was in management of a big construction company. When it comes to bidding on something, the market dictates the price, and disclosing numbers is a way to try to drive the prices down. Absolutely correct, Larry. The problem is we are in a media market recession. No doubt about that.
Call from
Larry Pilgrim.
Larry, I was just talking about your comment here. Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
Hey, sorry, Greg. I'm not trying to discredit you at all. I'm just saying where I heard it.
Yep.
Where I heard it first. I haven't followed your show but for a couple of months. So the first place I heard it was on Bucknuts after the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. And I was like, you guys are crazy. I was calling them nutbags. So no discredit to you. No discredit to you, Greg.
No, I don't. Look, other people, thanks for that. I'm okay with that. I just go back to our episode 22. Go to our YouTube channel 22, and we break it all down on why we got the information, why we broke it down, what the Big Ten did when they tracked us, why the Los Angeles Times did an article on us, why we gave it to USC 247. My point was, there were major media companies that had this info, and they did leak it out in a very professional way. And we were giving them documentation, pictures of stuff, constantly through the 3 months. So someone else might have said this or that, but there was a true story there. And the guy and the person that we're commenting on, the smiley face guy, he actually knew we had the story. And so be careful of these guys who don't put their names on anything, who are just flaming every single day for whatever reason. I do not know. But go ahead. The floor is yours. You got all the time you want.
Yeah, that was the speculation. That would have been, more of a speculation type situation.
Yeah.
So, that's different because sometimes, if you speculate, sometimes the crap's going to hit the wall and stick.
Yeah.
So so my background is in general contracting and, working with estimates and pricing and stuff like that. And so, you get these. So if you want to drive a price down on something, you disclose numbers, you do this. There's ways to drive pricing down, and it's very unprofessional. But the fact that ESPN would be, leaking this out is either bull crap, or two, they're doing it on purpose to try to drive the pricing down. So I think what you've got, in my opinion, this is just my guess, is you've got the Pac-12 trying to deal with ESPN, trying to drive the price down. And when it comes to business and estimating and stuff like that, the market is what the market is. Those games are going to bring in so much money no matter. And so I would think the Pac-12 would know what those games are worth on ESPN After Dark or whatever. And so, I'm not in that market. And what does an average 1 million views bring, in revenue per week? Through advertising. So do you have any knowledge of, advertising worth and stuff like that? Do you have any?
No, I don't. But I don't. I'm not smart enough to know any of that kind of stuff. But I will tell you that 1 million viewers, how much money that would bring to advertisers, is less now than it was in October. That's the problem. Right, correct. That's the problem.
Yeah, due to the market.
That's the problem.
And I think that has a lot to do with, you've got YouTube, you've got so many more platforms to advertise in, and I think advertisers, might get a bigger bang for their buck if they can reach 500,000 people at a quarter of the cost. That's just smart business.
That's definitely part of it. Okay.
And
I just want to say one thing, and then you can have the floor again. In regards, you make a great point, and you're absolutely correct. You know, a lot of companies do a lot of things to drive the price down. What I would caution everybody is that Andrew Marchand, and again, he doesn't need me to talk for him. In fact, I've been told to stand down on so much stuff I've been doing. So I'm not going to rally to the cause of saying these reporters are not lying anymore. I'm just going to keep quiet and stay out of the mud. But Andrew Marchand and guys like him and John Aron, they have these sources they've been working with for years. And Andrew Marchand is not going to put out something to be involved with some sort of keeping the price down. Do you understand what I'm saying? Of course, ESPN is going to try to get it as cheap as possible, but Andrew Marchand is not going to be. He's not going to put himself in a position to be used in that way. That's my strongly held opinion. They've been doing this for way too long. They've been accurate for way too long. They have had when they did the Big Ten, when they analyzed that deal, when they did the Big 12, they nailed this stuff. They nailed every part of the story. So when he says that ESPN and Pac-12 are not close as of today, they're not close. And I don't think, and maybe part of that, of course, like you say, is ESPN, but this is real. There is a real uneasiness going on right now. But go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I have to agree on, some of these reporters are, there's bias. Marchand obviously lives on the paycheck of writing stories. And like you're saying, he's going to sift through BS and he's not going to put something out there that's going to tarnish his reputation and his future in reporting. But where can you get this news? Where are the sources coming from? Somebody at ESPN, is leaking this. Now, why would they leak this? That's very unprofessional. And the people leaking, they're not close. How many people are going to have that knowledge? And how many are going to spread that? Not that he's bad. It's not that I don't believe him, or maybe maybe his wife is, knows somebody that's married to an executive. I don't know his sources, and I'm not saying he's correct or incorrect, but it's hard to believe that all these numbers are being disclosed. But like you said, he's got a keen eye and he knows what's right and what's wrong and what's going on.
And he also says what he doesn't know, right? He doesn't know about, he hasn't heard anything about the Apple TV. So he won't say it. He's speculating that they would probably have to be all in on Apple the negotiations would probably take longer. He says there maybe is a wild card, but he hasn't heard that there is one. But he does know that ESPN and Pac-12 are not close, and I take that to heart because of his history.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think of, finally 3 presidents, not ADs, presidents, the people that actually dictate what's going on, all came out within a couple of days of each other and stated, that they're good. So
they didn't say they were good.
The Arizona president was the only one that kind of left a back channel open, but ASU and Utah, and then maybe Colorado's taken a different direction because their president came out months ago and said, we're not going there.
Yeah. The Arizona State president, what he said, and we had an episode on it, saying that we are committed to the Pac-12. That doesn't surprise us.
Right.
Because we've been told, January 31st, we've had, you can believe it or not, that's all up to you guys, but our Arizona State Money Perch guy is saying Arizona State would not leave unless Arizona did it first. Like, Arizona State is not in the position, they will be committed to the Pac-12 until Arizona does something. So that is not a surprise to us. The Arizona president, I'm so thankful he said what he said. I am so thankful because it shows that, yes, there's layers to the story. It's not a simple yes or no. Arizona wants to stay in the Pac-12. Yes. All the reasons they want to stay in the Pac-12 because they're a research university. They've been with these schools forever. They want to play with their peers. Great, huge markets. Yes, 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 yes. But he also says we need to see the numbers. This is a business decision. We need to have 50% linear. He put a bunch of benchmarks in those interviews. You notice that?
Yeah, he left the door.
Yeah.
He was the one AD that left. He was the one AD that left the door open.
Yeah, he was the one president, and he's
president.
And he is the important president,
right?
Because he would be the first one, unless Oregon and Washington got some Big Ten deal, which we don't think is the timing's not right on that. But he put benchmarks out there, and boy, some of those are pretty high benchmarks, like ones that I don't know how the Pac-12 is going to do it. So I don't think it was all good. I don't think it was all bad. It was nuanced, and people took what they wanted to hear, and they went into their directions, and that's fine. But here at Peek Around the Corner,
right. So from a bird's eye view, when you look at this, and you look at everything involved, you've got to look and think, okay, they're trying to get the most they can out of ESPN, but get half the exposure. Maybe take less money, and then they're going to try to squeeze the streamers for that gap. And maybe that's where the holdup's coming from.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Now you and I could be absolutely wrong. But
right. Correct. We're speculating.
Yeah, but they got it. Pac-12's got to get ESPN on board, in my opinion. Take the less money. Forget about the money comparisons with the Big 12. You know that we don't talk about that here at Peek Around the Corner. Like, Arizona's not leaving for $5, $6, maybe even $7 million difference. Now, I got Big 12 people telling me I'm crazy. That's fine. It balances out the Pac-12 people telling me I'm crazy. I don't think this is about not burying your front porch of university. Get some visibility for your sports. You have to get on ESPN. It's too much of a gamble to put everything on Apple TV. So take less money from ESPN, and then what you said, Larry, squeeze more juice, more money out of the streaming part. The problem with that is, though, as Marchand and others have pointed out, Brett McMurphy pointed this out, others have pointed this out, and they're not lying, they're just pointing it out, that the problem with that is Amazon doesn't want tonnage. So they can't fill the holes in. And Apple TV, if you want them to fill the holes in, they want the whole enchilada. So none of it really works. Not yet.
Right. I mean, so, could Amazon piecemeal some to ESPN?
Well, Amazon only wants one game. According to Marchand, again,
I'm sorry, Apple. Could Apple piecemeal?
Yeah. But again, they could. But again, now Marchand doesn't really know. He's everyone's saying if Apple gets in on this, they want everything. But
right.
maybe Apple will say, okay, we'll take everything except for the best game going to ESPN. Would Apple TV really do that? Because they don't do that. They haven't done that. They've never done that yet. See, the puzzles they're not connecting. They're just...
Right, there's a lot of negotiating going on still, and you can see it with things being reported.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, I just wanted to get those 2 cents in and make sure I didn't offend you. I was not discrediting you. I'm just telling you where I heard the news first on the California schools.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the phone call.
Okay, episode 20 or 22?
What was that?
Episode 20 or 22? Is that what it was?
Episode 22. Episode 22.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
All right. John Coy, times and minds change, and no deal will eventually force a move. Arizona Big 12 would be good decision for the basketball program. Thank you, Lewis, for your donation, your super chat. I appreciate it, good sir. Pac-12 presidents have the patience of Job. Yes, they're going to need it. It looks like they're going to need more of it. More of it. According to Andrew Marchand, they're going to have to be more patient. And the reason why the Pac-12 presidents have to be more patient is because of the market forces, because the Pac-12 misjudged their market value all the way back in October. That's the reason why, not because of what is being said on Twitter.
Call from
Larry.
Larry, the floor is yours, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I was calling because I heard you going live, and I got to see you in regards to this Marchand
Yes, sir.
report. And, I mean, it just goes back to what you've been saying all along. I mean, your sources are solid. The Pac-12 is not in any position of leverage to negotiate a good deal. And even if it was a halfway decent deal, you're going to have a hard time getting Oregon and Washington to sign an extended grant of rights because they know they have options. Unequal revenue sharing, that, I mean, I can see that being negotiated with Oregon and Washington. But if you're Arizona State, Colorado, and even Utah, though they're denying they want to move, why would you agree to that when you have just as many options as Oregon and Washington?
Great points. It's great points, Larry. George Kliavkoff has to thread the needle. I think it has to start with ESPN. He's got to get them on board. He's got to get ESPN on board. So ESPN is lowballing you. You have to swallow that. That has to be part of your package. Where do you go from there? I do not know. But get ESPN on board. Hope, pray for a Hail Mary. That's all I got, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Now, I've heard some reports from some podcasters saying that ESPN is only interested in getting the Tier 2 rights just to fill that Saturday night, and that Amazon would want to have the Tier 1 rights on Friday night. Have you heard anything like that?
No. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that information's wrong. I know there hasn't, as of this morning, there hasn't been anything cobbled together to offer as an official presentation, comprehensive plan toward the Pac-12 president. So, you know, you're going to have your Tier 1 games, your best games on Amazon on a Friday night. Wow.
I mean, if you're trying to get to a certain amount, I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
I mean,
especially if you're trying to get to a certain amount of money. If ESPN's lowballing you, and maybe it's for Tier 1, but people are saying they just want Tier 2 just to fill out Saturday night after dark.
Yeah. I mean, you know, realignment decisions are, you know, they're 100-year decisions, or at least they should be 10, 20-year decisions, right? You don't make decisions based upon a certain coach that you have hired. But try telling Deion Sanders, try calling him into your office and saying, by the way, Deion, if Coach Sanders, if you can get your Colorado football program up to be a 10-2 ball club, be a 9-3 ball club, right? You come out of the chute 5-0. The 6th, 7th game of the week in 2024, you're going to be primetime coach, a primetime game playing against Washington Friday night on Amazon, right?
Right.
Boy, that is tough because you're not going to get the eyeballs. You just, at least at first, in the streaming, presumably, it's not going to work for the first few years of this contract. Not the way you would want it to work. How can Colorado, how can Arizona, they can't agree to that type of deal. Where's Arizona basketball going again? Amazon, Apple TV, that program, that huge, massive brand is going on Apple TV when all the other massive brands, Kansas, UCLA, you name them, go right through all the Big East, go North Carolina, they're going on ESPN and Fox Sports, ABC, CBS. Those basketball games are going to have that exposure, and Arizona's going to be on what again?
Amazon,
Apple TV, and that might be farmed out to CW. It doesn't work. Robbins has a decision to make. Now, he said, I'm sorry to take up your, Larry, I'm going to give you more time. You go ahead.
No problem. Go right ahead.
What I'm saying is, Mr. Robbins he said he'd be more patient. He was willing to be more patient. He said it. So we'll see if he actually just waits more time. It sounds like George Kliavkoff needs more time to get somewhat of a deal in front of those Pac-12 presidents. Go ahead, Larry. I'm sorry I took up your time. The floor is yours for as long as you want it.
No problem. Thanks, Greg. I guess to top this off, it becomes a matter of how do you sell this to recruits, too? I mean, you got to imagine that recruits want to be on TV as much as possible. And if this is going to be a majority streaming deal, how does that impact recruiting? I mean, Deion's doing an outstanding job right now as far as football recruiting, but how can he maintain that pace if all his major games are going to be on Amazon, for example, on Tier 1, or even if he does a Tier 3 game and it's on Apple TV? Yeah. And, Colorado's already been on record saying they signed a contract with Deion that they really can't pay.
Yeah.
They really don't have the money to pay him. They're banking on Deion raising the profile so much that they can pay him. And a lot of that money is going to probably come from a media rights deal that they're going to filter back to the athletic department. And at this point in time, if there's no deal on the table, I mean, these are big red flags.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, have a good day, Greg. I enjoy watching your show.
Thanks. Call again, please. Okay?
Will do.
Please. Thank you.
Take care.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Larry's just, he's laying it out there for all. He said it a lot better than I could ever say it. This is difficult. This is very uneasy. How does Deion Sanders, how does Colorado navigate this? They give George Kliavkoff more time, okay. But man, they need to see something that's, this story is not about, George, Pac-12, they just need more time. It's early yet. The Big 12 screwed them up by getting they did screw them up, but by jumping in early. Normally the Pac-12 would have more time to get negotiations done. We've talked about this at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to continue to do so. The media market is in a recession. It's different now. It's different than it was just late 2022. These companies do not want to put up the money. According to Andrew Marchand, we've heard this before, but according to his report this morning, basically the deal the Big 12 received from Fox Sports and ESPN is the deal that the Pac-12 could have received. But they refused it, and they went to the open market. And again, I've said this before. Of all the people, people came out with their opinion, their take. That's fine. People said that Brett Yormark made the mistake and George Kliavkoff did the right thing by going to the open market. That Yormark made the wrong decision by getting a deal done early. That's fine. Those people had that take. They happened to be wrong. And not one of them has come back and said, whoops, I got it wrong. Not one of them. So now they're doubling down, tripling down.
Call from
Kaufman.
Kaufman, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Well, I just, hearing what Larry said is something I kind of said, I think, last week. But the other thing of it is you also got to think about this whole thing with the media deal not coming to fruition. The Pac-12 at July of 2024 no longer has a media deal. So these presidents and ADs and stuff can be as patient as they want, but at some point that patience is going to have to run out. Because if they don't have some sort of media deal, they can't start planning wages for their athletic people until they got some kind of contract signed somewhere. And that's going to start weighing in on where they go and what they do as we get closer and closer, because I don't see these schools waiting a year out to make a decision on going somewhere to get some sort of media contract to keep their athletic programs going. I mean, it's you've got to think about people's well-being and livelihood. And not only that, the big sponsors and all that stuff, hey, you guys need to do something, because if not, we're going to pull our sponsorship. They've got more pressure on them than you realize on making a decision with their media rights. Yeah.
These great points. Great points, Coppin. These athletic directors, they project revenue years out, right? They have debt that they have to pay. They have debt services they have to pay. They have to pluck down $11 million a year that just goes for the stadium renovations. They pluck down $2 million a year to pay debt on their new athletic village. Whatever it is, they know they have projection revenues to meet their expenditures, projected expenditures, years out. Suddenly, whatever deal they get right now isn't going to match what they thought they were going to get. In 2018, when they were projecting revenues for 2024, 2025, their projections are higher than what they're going to receive.
Yes, and that's the whole thing. And not only that, if you go, like I live in the Midwest, so I live in the Central Standard Time Zone. You really, for the past few years, you really haven't heard a lot about the Pac-12 in our area, except for UCS and maybe every now and again Utah. Oregon and Washington, their football programs have been down the past few years. And, when you look at branding and stuff, yes, Oregon and Washington are a great brand, and I do believe they will get their football programs turned around. But when you look at the Pac-12 now with UCLA and USC going, who do you really have left in the Pac-12 except for Utah? And how can you judge them when the other teams have been down for the past few years? Now, granted, Arizona State has a great opportunity to bring their football program around with a new coach. Arizona, Washington, Oregon, all of these guys have great opportunities to show what they can do. But if they're not being seen, how is anybody going to know? I mean, and it goes back to Colorado. Colorado has to pay for Deion Sanders. Yeah. And they're not going to be able to do that if he's on streaming. It's one of those deals where you've got to be patient, but you can't be patient for too long, because you've got to start making plans for years out, and you've got to have that media rights deal to start those plans and to make sure that you can keep, like Deion Sanders, your coaches, all the people that you need to keep your athletic programs relevant in whatever conference you're in. And if you don't have that money, you don't have athletics.
Yeah. Now everybody's going to be on streaming. The problem is you can't have your top game in this 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. You can't have your top football games throughout the year be on streaming, being buried by the exposure that ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS, NBC, ABC, that they can give to these institutions.
And that's my point. And like I said last week, these kids are getting agents now. They can have agents to help with their NIL deal. Yes. Their agents are going to say, hey, wait. Those guys are on streaming. You don't want to go there. If you want to make more money, you need to go over here where they've got the media. Yes. Where they're on live TV. Yeah. And, you can't, your NIL deals are going to fall apart. You've just got so many people who back these sports, and they're going to back out when what's the point? Nobody's going to see you. And you're just going to be irrelevant all the time. It doesn't matter what the new – and nobody knows exactly what the new playoff deal is going to look like yet because it hasn't been finalized.
Not for 2026, yep.
Yeah, and the thing of it is I don't know how true it is because I haven't really followed it too much, but there was somebody that says there's only going to be possibly 4 qualifying schools.
We don't know.
Automatic qualifying. We don't know.
We don't know.
It's anywhere from 4 to 6. That's what we've been hearing.
Yep.
But nobody knows.
Nobody knows
if it's only 4, that's going to, and the Pac-12's on streaming, they're probably going to be left out.
Yep.
So,
all right.
But you do a great job like always,
Thank
Greg,
you, sir.
And, I appreciate it. I just wanted to call and kind of put in my 2 cents about the presidents. They can be patient, but that patience is going to have to run out here before long.
Yeah, you're right.
I just don't see how I don't see how they can wait until like June or July to make a decision on a media rights deal of any kind when they know that next year in July they no longer have a media contract. So it's just one of those things. But keep up the good work. Keep putting out the information, and I know you try to stay out of the mud as much as possible, and just keep it up.
Thank you.
Have a good day, sir.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. Yes, sir.
All right, Greg, I'll be very quick.
Ooh,
Big
this is
12
Lewis.
Yes. Be
Nice to
really
hear
quick.
from you, sir.
Good to hear from you. Big 12 got their deal done because they had their expansion done already, and schools joined without even knowing what the deal would be. And the 12 schools were all on the same page. So what George Kliavkoff has to do, everyone's talking about the numbers, but it's more than that. He has 5 different factions in his conference. Washington State, Oregon State is a faction. You have the California schools and their interests. You have Washington and Oregon. You have Arizona State, Utah. You have Colorado and Arizona. 5 different divergent interests. They have to all be comfortable with the numbers, which they can probably get numbers pretty close to the Big 12, maybe even a little more if they're lucky. Then they have to get comfortable with the streaming and the sub-licensing, which is going to take time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he has to solve 3 more problems. He has to solve revenue sharing, and is it equal or unequal? I think perhaps some of the Arizona president's comments were to anticipate that there might be a push for unequal revenue sharing and indicate that if you push the Arizona number down below 2 or 3 million worse than the Big 12, it's an issue. You have revenue sharing. Yeah. You have the grant of rights, which we know that Oregon and Washington probably would have some resistance to a longer-term grant of rights. You have to resolve that issue. And then finally, you have to resolve expansion and seeing how that plays into the deal. If George Kliavkoff can get that all done, and I'm not saying he can't, then he deserves a nice Christmas bonus, and this thing might very well drag on the Christmas the way it's going, and that's my call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lewis. Appreciate it. Wow. You gotta always love Lewis's phone calls, man. Thank you, Lewis. All that needs to get done in the backdrop. Here's Andrew Marchand saying ESPN and the Pac-12 are not close. Are not close to a deal. In my opinion, if George Kliavkoff calls me today, which he's not going to, I would say get a deal done with ESPN. Just get a deal done. Just get a deal done. Take the lowball offer and then try to piecemeal it after that. Try so you can tell Washington and Oregon. You can tell Colorado. Tier 1 games are going to be on ESPN Saturday night. Let's just get it done. Get that piece done. I know they're lowballing you. Just get it done, George. Get it done.
Call from
Ryan Martin.
to accept, press 1. To send a voicemail,
Oh,
press
we're having
2.
trouble here. Oh, got it. You there, sir?
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning.
I just have to say it's a little early for a live show, my friend. My Blue Ridge Coffee Crafter coffee isn't even done brewing yet. So.
Yeah. Well, we not to give too much away, but we anticipated this. We kept quiet this weekend for the most part. We put a few things out late last night, some GIFs and everything. We knew this story had more pages to it, but we couldn't. I'll just keep it at that. So we knew it was either going to be a lunch or a breakfast, early morning one. But you know what? Like I tell everybody, there are a lot of new people on this channel right now. Subscribe to our channel because you got to keep your head on a swivel if you're part of the PATC community. We can pop up at any time. This is our first breakfast live show. There could be more coming up. I apologize to everybody, but this is how this show works. So, but anyways, the floor is yours, sir.
Instead of playing whack-a-mole, it's like playing whack-a-gopher.
Yeah, whack-a-gopher. Yeah. Gophers lost to Michigan this weekend. I'm not happy about it. I'm depressed about it. We did not win the Big Ten Hockey Tournament Championship. We're the number one seed in the national in the tournament. We got a horrible region. We're the number one team, and yet the NCAA selection committee hockey, they screw us. We go to Fargo. We got the most difficult region in the whole tournament, and yet we're the number one seed. I'm done complaining. The floor is yours, sir.
I feel the same way after watching the last four in play the way they did this weekend with Oklahoma State, being the number one seed in the NIT versus, watching ASU demolish Nevada. No. Anyway, my only comment for today really is it'll be really interesting to see what the media narrative is going forward. What happens today in the wake of this revelation? Because all last week about was the Kumbaya song and dance from the mouthpieces within the PAC, the heavily editorialized stuff from Wilner, Canzano, Mandel, all talking about how nobody's leaving the PAC for a few $1 million and blah, 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 blah. And realistically, it was a very slanted view of the comments from some very, very open, unprecedentedly open university presidents. And I think at the end of the day, it was a ham-fisted attempt to kind of retake the media narrative, and it kind of calmed things down for a day or two. But now reality is reasserting itself. It feels like that, everybody besides the people who are talking to the PAC are saying none of this is realistic. Getting close to $30 million is no longer realistic unless you do all of these other bad things that go along with it. Yeah. So it'll just, I'm interested to see what the salvo back is, and whether it is a rain of missiles or, a rock, like they have been most of the time.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure it will, and it will be interesting from the aspect of people's entertainment, But again, all the stuff that goes back and forth in regards to Twitter and all that stuff is not affecting the story at all.
No,
there is true. If you can see that, there is true cloak and dagger. But the cloak and dagger is not what's going on Twitter. So that. Go ahead.
No, I would not be surprised to see, and ultimately I would not be surprised to see that April 15th deadline sail by with nothing done.
Yeah.
And I would, if I had to put odds on it right now, I'd say there's a 66% chance that something actually happens as a result of this. But there's not a not insignificant chance that the goalposts and the deadline get moved again, because the deadline has moved multiple times, right?
Yeah.
First it was, we got to get a deal done by Thanksgiving. Then it'll be by the beginning of the new year. Then it was, by the beginning of March, then the middle of March. Now it's the middle of April. And so it's one of those things, man.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, I've taken up enough of your time. I will hop off so other people can call in. Thanks again, Greg.
You bet. Great call.
All right. Bye.
Go Blue Big Ten hockey champs back to back. No! Boo! Boo! Boo, Michigan! Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Once again, Gophers. Roman Maroney says, look at the bright side. Gophers getting through the first two games and it gets easier. Yeah, well, usually your most difficult game should be in the Frozen Four. But of course the Gophers get screwed again. Again. Now that's a conspiracy. That's the conspiracy. John Coy, Big 12 likely going to get basketball money in the next contract. Another reason for Arizona and others to move to the Big 12. That's what Brett Yormark, his vision, that's what he's trying to sell to Robbins. That's what he's trying to sell. Once again, Robbins said that he's willing to be patient. He's willing to wait longer for numbers to be presented to him. So he's willing to wait. It's other Pac-12 presidents. It's other Pac-12 presidents that want to see the numbers now. Are they going to see numbers, real numbers tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when ESPN and the Pac-12 are not close to a deal? Question number one. Are they really going to see a deal in the next few days? A real comprehensive package offer presented in front of the Pac-12 presidents? Are they really going to see anything when ESPN and Pac-12 are not close to a deal? And if they do see a deal, that means that George Kliavkoff took my advice, finally took my advice and just grabbed a lowball offer from ESPN. Grabbed it, used it as the tier one piece, and pieced the rest together somehow, some way. I don't even know how that's going to work. Very tough situation for the Pac-12. Can they resolve it? Yes. Can they save the conference? Can they keep the 10 schools together? Yes. None of them have said they're going to leave yet. They're waiting. When Arizona President Robbins says that nobody's going to leave until we see the deal, he's telling the truth. And no reporter has said differently. No reporter has gone out there and said Arizona's going to leave right now today without seeing the deal. No one has said that. The reporters have told no lies. Again, I'm not going to spend time defending reporters. Not going to do it. Although I just did. But I'm going to stay out of the mud as best I can. Pac-12, on the other hand, you go from one end, Pac-12, they haven't imploded yet. No school has agreed to join the Big 12 yet. No schools have said yes to an invitation yet. But on the other hand, no, it's not happy days are here again. There are no more cloudy skies, gray sky. I don't know how that song went. But it isn't all rainbows in the Pac-12 during these meeting negotiations. These presidents have a decision to make. And it's okay to say it. It's okay to say it. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Well, I don't know if everything's going to be okay, but it's okay to tell what's going on. Robert Perez, but when they see a deal, and how long will they wait? June 30th, July 4th? I don't know. If they don't see any deal, the Twitter's going to be the wild, wild west. Ryan Martin says, boo this man. Absolutely. Boo! Boo to Michigan. Boo to Michigan. As they break my heart once again. We'll get him in the national championship game. That's where we'll get him. Patrick Bourne says early this week is important because this week for the Pac is life or death. Truth, we shall see. We shall see. Again, I'm listening to President Robbins. He said other presidents wanted to see numbers this week. They wanted to see numbers right now. But Robbins was willing to wait. Colorado, are they willing to wait? Because this deal, unless George Kliavkoff just, which he should, if he's going to have to bend the knee. He's going to have to bend the knee to ESPN and take their offer. And then try to piece together the rest of the deal and then put it forward to the presidents and say, stay together for 4 or 5 more years and we'll do better in the next round. Something like that. I know it's a very weak argument. It's a very weak. He's got a bad hand. He's got a 2-7 offsuit. It's a bad hand that he's playing. And it gets back to the deal that George Kliavkoff, when he should have had the deal, when he could have gotten the deal, way back in October, earlier than that, and he passed on it. Pac-12 passed on the deal, just like Andrew Marchand reported this morning. Couldn't get the deal done. He did not want to get the deal done. So now the media market, it's in recession, and now they're scrambling.
Call from
Chad.
I didn't catch the name.
Chad.
Chad.
C-H-A-D. Yep.
The floor is yours, sir.
On the last show.
Yes,
How are
sir.
you today, sir?
Good.
Got a question. Maybe you could squash the rumor. Is there any truth that if they do go heavy streaming, that the schools have to pay for their own production costs?
I don't know. I know I've seen that bantied around back and forth. I don't know. Look, we would just have to see the deal to know the truth on that. Right now, like the Big 12 right now, when it comes to ESPN Plus, now when you go and watch the games, they're getting paid money from ESPN Plus to basically cover the production costs of the Big 12 schools for most of those live events that go on at ESPN Plus. Some of those ESPN Plus games are produced and paid for by ESPN Plus, like some football games, but most of the product, like if you see a softball game on there or a swim meet or whatever, those Big 12 universities are getting enough money to pay for those production costs throughout the year, and they're not making a whole lot of money on ESPN Plus. That's why the ACC network, the SEC network, the Big Ten network, all provide more. Whoops, I lost something here. They all provide more revenue in those type of deals I do not know.
Gotcha.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I thought the MLS was paying somewhere. I thought I read maybe upwards in like $60 million a year. In production costs.
In fact, I read that. So yeah, I would. So if a deal gets done, right, and if it's largely Apple TV or all of Apple TV, we're gonna have to really pop open the hood, take a deep dive, and not take the first numbers presented. We're gonna have to take a look to see if that's actually net or gross, right?
Right.
But until we see the deal, I don't know. I don't think anyone else could possibly know at this time.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
You got it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I don't have the answer. Thank you.
That's okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll make a comment on that. Tide guy, we had, you're not going to come here and troll, so we had to hide you. If you don't like the channel, that's fine. There's a lot of other college football channels out there. If you just want to flame a fan base or a certain conference, if that's what you want to spend all your time on doing, you can do that somewhere else. You can come and disagree with me at Peek Around the Corner, but you're not going to turn the chat room into your own playground. We don't play here. We have a fun time talking college football. If you want to attack Andrew Marchand and everybody else that disagrees with you, Tide Guide, on any subject, and call everybody a liar that might have a different point of view from yours, you go right ahead. You can do that in other college football YouTube channels. If you want to just use your large brush and consider everybody part of some endeavor plot, if this is what makes you happy because that's what you're obsessed about every single day, you can do that on Twitter. You can do that anywhere else, but you're not going to do it in our chat room. This is College Football's Peek Around the Corner. College Football's Peek Around the Corner, not Mr. Tide Guy's playground. Okay? So we'll see you later, sir. Okay. That's a pretty decent analogy, Kevin Lee. 10 frogs in a pot full of water in a stove, not having a clue the burner has been turned on. That slow rise of boiling water. Yes. That's true, Coppin, but the Pac-12 media deal ends July of 2024. The grant of rights ends August 1st, 2024.
Call from
Opie.
Opie, is that you?
Yes, this is me.
Good. Nice to hear from you.
Just wanted to ask, say some things on what I was looking at. To me, it seems like the Pac-12 has just got too many things against it. And the reason I say that is because, one, you have the I just lost my thought. How about that?
No, you know what? It's been happening to me at least once or twice every time I do a show now. I'm getting kind of nervous about it. I think I'm losing it. So
yeah, we don't want to be like our parents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but to me, it's like the unequal revenue sharing. It's like, okay, you have Washington and Oregon has their own deal. So that's, let me see, let's say it's $30 million, but they want 35. So what does that leave for everybody else? So then, you would have like two different tiers or maybe even three.
Yeah.
So, I wonder about that. Then you got the other deal of people wanting to leave. You have, just so many things is going on. And it just, to me, it's just too many things against this lead right now. Because like when Missouri and A&M joined the SEC, they joined at 11 months and 8 months. So they can join at any time, it seems like, going to the Big 12 or wherever they're going. But I think July 1st, didn't you say that's when the Big 10 is finally going to do their new commissioner?
What I have heard is Kevin Warren's out the door April 17th, and the person coming in the door probably won't be in the door until mid-May or end of May. So
okay,
it's that whole Washington, Oregon to Big Ten. There's a lot of hurdles. The door's cracked open though. People are talking about it, but it's people, true, real people, money perch people are talking about it. But there's hurdles to overcome. We'll see.
Well, I would say that then they have no incentive whatsoever to sign a GOR. Because, I mean, even though, let's say you got the deal, signing that grant of rights is something that you're going to sit up there and say, we'll wait. Yeah. And then see what happens and see if we get our invite. Because to me, you're going to get a lot of these schools on the cheap. Yeah. So, and then you can gradually work them up. So.
Yep. The math is changing on that. No question about it.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, I wonder, I know the SEC has their deal of keeping everything close. But to me, if you're a businessman, you're going to sit up here and say, okay, well, the Arizona schools, if I get them, they can be, part of the California market. And Colorado has a lot of rivalries with the, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, stuff like that. So to me, I would be watching for them as a wild card, no matter what they said, simply because of they don't ever say nothing. Next thing you know, they're signing somebody, or whenever they come out from their perch, it's like, damn, they're up on the hill. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Because, the Big Ten and them, it's all their playground. Yeah. So, but that's just what I was wondering about and seeing, because we still hadn't even gotten to the December 26th thing of hiding the host. So,
yeah.
But anyway,
there's lots going on, sir. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I enjoy it because, whenever you got some things that you want to try to say, it's so hilarious to see you squirm like a little, your little 7-year-old brother trying to keep up with you.
Yeah, it's even this weekend. We knew this was coming down, and sometimes it's tricky, but that's again, that's why you have to subscribe to this channel, because you never know what's going to happen next, sir. So.
Oh yeah, it's like driving around 2:00 at night trying to look in somebody's window from your car. I'm going on Twitter and looking and seeing what's going on.
Yeah. All right, thank you, sir.
Well, anyway, it's a great show and appreciate it, and I tell everybody I can about it. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Doug Bijan, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name incorrect, sir. Read the Dennis Dodd article, which University of Arizona president said Arizona State and Arizona are a package deal. That point was really underreported. Correct. And we've said here at Peek Around the Corner many times, Arizona State, I know Arizona State people are upset with me. I get everybody upset with me. But Arizona State Arizona has to act first. We reported that January 31st, our money perch guys, and he's very upset about it, very discouraged about a lot of things that are going on during this Pac-12 media negotiations. Arizona State said something in that January 30th meeting that we reported to you all on January 31st. And he also said that Arizona will be the lead dog on a move. If it happens, Arizona will lead first. And of course, since we reported that on January 30th, yes, I think everyone has realized that's the situation. Tim B, Thanks, Greg, for keeping certain trolls out of this great community that you have created on your channel. Thank you, Tim B. And again, our PATC community is incredibly diverse. We don't agree with each other. We don't. Some of us say it's a sure thing that the Pac-12 is going to stay together. Some of us say it's a sure thing they won't. I'm not in either one of those camps. A lot of us say that I think Penn State's going to win their Big Ten championship this year. Nobody in the chat room agrees with me unless you're literally lying. We disagree with each other, and that's okay. Disagreeing is not trolling. But if you're just going to come in here and just label all reporters liars and say that everybody who disagrees with me must be part of some plot, and we're not. You can do that elsewhere. There's a lot of places you can do that. A lot of places. Lots of places. Disagree with me, Greg Flugard. Disagree with me. But, you know, when you just label everybody a liar, then what are you exactly accomplishing? What are you doing? What are you doing? That's a lot of people have just, I'm sorry to say, but there are people out there who have really damaged their own reputation. And my question is, over what? Over what exactly? What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you saying that there? I don't know. Look, maybe it's my I'm gonna take the phone lines off for just a second here. You know, maybe it's just my way of doing things. Maybe I'm the odd duck in the room. You know, we're not, peek around the corner, we are not going to hold back on the Big Ten's traveling issues with the way their conference is formed right now. The composition of the conference. We're not going to hold back on that. We're not going to hold back on the fact that the ACC is in trouble, that there's schools that are trying to figure out how they're going to pull the trigger and challenging the Gore. We talked about that on December 26th. We were told to stand down. We stood down. We're going to continue to stand down. That story is a lot more developed than it was back in December 26th. But the story will come out when it is ripe and ready to go. We're going to talk about ACC issues. We're going to talk about the Big Ten issues. We're going to talk about the Big 12 issues because they've got them, ladies and gentlemen. They've got them. Sorry, Big 12 fans, but you've got them. So when we're talking about the Pac-12's issues in this negotiations, we're giving you the straight shoot on this stuff. And it's okay to disagree with me, but we're not part of some, you know what? Any organization, anybody trying to do some sort of plot would have me as a member of it. Okay? Like Roy Rogers, he said something like that. I wouldn't want to be a member of an organization that would be dumb enough to have me as a member. These people, these reporters are not part of some plot. They're not getting their marching orders from Endeavor. McIver 3, that West Virginia guy, isn't getting paid a nickel. Isn't getting paid a nickel from anybody. Who would pay him a nickel? He's not altering the course of the Pac-12 negotiations. Nobody is. None of that is the story. None of it is. The story is that we are in a recession, the media market recession. Pac-12 should have jumped in and grabbed the deal months and months and months and months and months ago. And Big 12, Yormark read the market perfectly for his conference and what was going on in the marketplace, and he took the deal. That's the story. And people want to cover up for all this other stuff or distract from the real issue, go ahead. But that's not what's going to be part of this show. What's part of this show is, Greg, you're wrong. Pac-12 is going to get a deal done. Greg, you're wrong. Big Ten scheduling is not going to be a problem. Greg, you're wrong. The ACC is going to be able to redo their deal. ACC is going to be able to expand. Greg, you're wrong. You've been saying ACC is not going to expand. We say they are. Greg, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. But when you get into Greg as part of an Endeavor plot, then you're just going to crazy town, and we're not going to be a part of it here at Peek Around the Corner. So that is what we're keeping out of the community. But Greg, you're wrong. You are welcome. You are welcome. The little general, the moderator of this channel, says, Greg, you're wrong 50 times a day because she's smart. So for those in here who are saying, you're wrong, Greg, well, you're probably going to be correct. But we're not going to go down the road of anybody, Craig Kirsch, Ryan Failing, Son of Sarek, Opie. If you guys don't agree with me, you guys are part of a plot. We're not going down that road. That's never going to be a part of Peek Around the Corner. That's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, Patrick Bourne, for your super chat, for your continuous generosity. I did catch your YouTube show, Patrick. Thank you so very much. Four Corners still have the Big 12 lifeboat. Therefore, they can be patient. Pac-12 issues will be resolved as third power conference. They can be patient. I think the one, although according to President Robbins, he's the only one willing to be patient. Other schools want answers. Other schools want the numbers. And I know you probably agree with me on this, Patrick, but the problem with staying patient is these deals aren't going to get better. These deals aren't going to get better. This media recession that we're in, media market recession, this is not going away anytime soon. But thanks for the super chat, Patrick. I appreciate you, good sir. Opie, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You're very generous. Still hiding the host fund of December 26th. This has been a lot of fun, this channel. On another note, if the Four Corners schools go to the Big 12 or combo SEC, it will make the Big 10 non-revenue schools nearest universities to travel just north of 900 miles. I don't quite understand. On another note, if the Four Corners schools go to the Big 12 or combo SEC, non-revenue schools nearest. I'm sorry, Opie. Can you explain that in another comment, or give me another call? I don't quite understand the 900 miles Big 10 non-rev schools. Give me another call, or put down a comment, Opie. I'm sorry you put down such a generous donation, and the host isn't smart enough to figure it out. Sorry, give me another comment to explain that. Thank you, Opie. Appreciate the super chat. Yes, December 26th. That story has just begun. That story has just begun. Son of Sarah, correct on the recession. Multiple banks have failed, likely to get worse before it get better. Maybe true, maybe not. I'm not talking about the total economy. I'm just talking about the media market, the media companies. They're laying off people. They're spending less and less. The advertisers are spending less and less on advertising. That's the problem. And we're seeing it throughout the industry. We've talked about the WWE. Vince McMahon going to try to sell it. he sees that the two media company providers, what is it, Fox and USA, someone told me that on the chat. Anyways, those media companies are losing money on WWE content right now because the advertisers have slashed their buy rates. They're not spending the money. They're not spending the money on WWE during the shows. And I just saw a report. It doesn't even matter that WWE's ratings have gone up, I guess. It just, the advertisers are not spending the money. So the media companies are in a recession. And that's part of the reason that Yormark jumped up in front of the line and got the deal done when he got it done. He made the right move. Bob Husley, nice to see you in the house. I'm still leaning towards GK, just running out the clock until the schools have no choice to sign the new deal. That works. That works if you believe there's zero chance that any Pac-12 schools will jump somewhere else. That they'll just take the worst possible deal. They'll just take any deal that George Kliavkoff gives them right before their current media deal runs out. I just don't think that's the case. I don't quite think that is the case. The Pac-12 schools want to stay together. They don't want to leave each other. They don't. But there's more to the story than just that. That doesn't do enough, especially in this change in times. Okay, we're going to put the phone lines back on. 763-760-1333. The phone lines are now open. Yeah, the phone lines are open, Opie. Sorry about that. Phone line is now open. 763-260-1333. This is a good question. Blaze Bunny, does adding the Northwest schools really help travel for the LA schools that much? Seattle's 1,000 miles from LA. We're talking about an extra hour or two on a plane going to the Midwest. I do. I'll get back to that.
Call from
Opie.
Opie, thanks for calling again. I'm sorry. Thank you for your great donation. I'm sorry that I'm not intelligent enough to figure your comment out. So thanks for calling. What's going on?
Oh, no, that was me. It's only 250 characters.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to figure out how to say it. No, what I was wondering, like as a business move, there's really only 5 universities in the Mountain Time Zone. The Big has always said that, they wanted to go coast to coast, which they would get with those 4 universities, Washington, Oregon, and 2 LA schools. If they wanted to get into the Mountain West, you got Colorado, Utah, Arizona State. Well, BYU's taken, maybe Boise State. But if you were trying to block them out of that section with the SEC and the Big 12 getting schools, wouldn't that kind of mess them up a little bit?
Are you talking about Big 10 trying to get into the Mountain West?
Yeah, because I know that. Well, it was Warren that said that before.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's a big emphasis to get into the Mountain West, into that time zone. I know he said it. I think it was a clumsy way of saying that we're going to cover the whole area because we're going to be in the Pacific Coast.
So a cloak and dagger, so to speak.
Yeah,
we just
I think it was just clumsy communication on his part. I don't think it's a necessity, a goal, a mission for Big Ten to absolutely get a team in the Mountain West.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, then.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for clearing that up,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Thanks, Opie. Appreciate it. Okay, someone just called back again. I lost you on the line. Oh, back to that travel question. Okay, so there are ways that Washington and Oregon, for example, would help travel that people kind of skip over. You know, if Gopher baseball, for example, Minnesota Gopher baseball, they could play doubleheader in Seattle and stay there, play in Washington and stay there, go to LA, do a 3-team doubleheader series, then fly back to Minnesota. Just for example, you can do those Olympic sports, non-revenue sports, and just have your school go through all those schools in one trip before you come back home. So there's ways to do it. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier with 4 schools out in the Pacific Coast. I understand the travel difference between Seattle and Los Angeles. It's thousands of miles. I get it. But there are ways of having all those schools grouped together, playing the same field, all the softball, baseball, where you don't have to go from Seattle. You can play a doubleheader against USC, at USC, play against UCLA, play against Oregon, play against Washington, all in the same ball field during a 4-day weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just for an example, do that with volleyball. And then the next trip you move it, have all those teams not play at UCLA, but USC. The next time do it at Oregon. Have those places as a hub for your non-revenue sports to go through all those games against all those schools before you fly back. There are ways to cut down on travel, and it'll be a lot easier if you take Oregon and Washington. All right. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Oh, there's no question the Big Ten's they're going to end their expansion for the next generation somewhere in the East. There's no question about it. No question about it. Who they are, I do not know. But that story's not going away. That story's just begun. Just begun. Sun and Sarek, travel's a little overblown for the Olympic non-revenue sports. There isn't much of a conference schedule. Over at track, swimming, gymnastics schedule is non-conference. Ryan Feline says the Pac-12 is done. Secret Agent says Big 12 have issues. How dare you? Yes. I'm going to be hated by everybody, or I shouldn't say hated, disliked by everybody in the PATC community at some point during the 2023 season. That's what we do here at Peek Around the Corner. I'm just going to check my notes real quick here. Just hang on, everybody. Hang on. Stay with me. Okay. Woo! Going to be a lot of action out there today. Okay, we're going to close this up. Breakfast at Peek Around the Corner. I appreciate you all coming in. If this is your first time, or if you're someone who's been coming in to our house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kirkcaldy Avenue, I thank you. But I ask for you to subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button if you liked our content today, and share the video with your family and friends. Subscribe to our channel because we could be popping up at any time. This is breakfast at PATC. We could be doing dinner at PATC, Peek Around the Corner tonight. This story has a lot more pages that we have to turn together. Pac-12 saga, negotiations, where it ultimately ends up, we do not know. We don't know. But there is a story here. It's nuance. There's a lot of things going on. Cloak and dagger. And make sure, before you leave our channel, go to the description box. Go to the link. CFB PATC. Get your Cloak and Dagger mug. There's also hats. There's also hoodies, 7 different colors, all different sizes. You know the big size are there because your host is fat. So go to that link, look at it, have fun with it. And thanks for all coming in. I do appreciate you all so very much. Until next time. And next time could be just right around the corner here at Peek Around the Corner. Until next time, all of us from PATC, to all of you, please, you all take good care of each other. Thank you so very much.